Now, I'm not saying life won't have challenges. Jesus himself said, "In this world you will have trouble." But he didn't stop there. He said, "Take heart, for I have overcome the world." You see, stress is not from God. Stress comes to steal your joy, your energy, your clarity. But God gives you peace that passes understanding. And today I want to give you tools, not just to survive stress, but to master it. Because when you learn to manage stress, you unlock strength. Let's talk about how. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning and before your feet even touch the ground, your mind is already running. You're thinking about the emails you need to reply to, the meetings you're not prepared for, the bills that are due, the problems you didn't solve yesterday, and now it's morning again, and the pressure is already building. Sound familiar? But what if I told you the way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows? You see, too many of us wake up and walk straight into stress. The alarm goes off and we reach for our phones. And the first thing we see, a text we didn't answer, an email marked urgent, news that makes us anxious, social media that makes us feel like we're behind in life. And before we've even brushed our teeth, stress is already in the driver's seat. But friend, that is not the life God designed for you. He didn't breathe life into your lungs this morning so you could spend the day in a panic. He woke you up because he still has purpose for you. He still has peace for you. But to walk in that peace, you have to be intentional with your first moments. That's why I say start your day in peace, not pressure. When your eyes open, before you do anything else, take a moment to connect with your source. Breathe, be still, whisper a prayer. God, thank you for this new day. Lead me, strengthen me, and fill me with your peace. Even just 5 minutes of stillness can shift your entire mindset. The world will try to rush you, but you don't have to rush with it. Think about Jesus. The Son of God had crowds of people following him every day, miracles to perform, a message to deliver, and still, the Bible says he withdrew to lonely places to pray. He understood the power of getting quiet before getting busy. If he needed that stillness, how much more do we? Maybe for you it's reading scripture. Maybe it's journaling, meditating, or sitting in silence with a cup of coffee and just breathing in peace. Whatever it looks like, create a sacred space in your morning. Not just for productivity, but for peace. Because here's what I've learned. When I give God the first part of my day, the rest of the day seems to fall into place. It doesn't mean challenges disappear. But suddenly I'm not reacting. I'm responding. I'm not running on empty, I'm running on grace. I'm not snapping at people, I'm speaking with kindness. Why? Because I anchored myself in peace before I stepped into pressure. So if stress has been your default, if your mornings have been a blur of chaos and cortisol, I challenge you tomorrow. Try something different. Don't start with the news. Don't start with your to-do list. Start with the one who holds your day in his hands. When you put peace first, everything else starts to follow. Peace isn't found in the absence of problems. It's found in the presence of God. And that presence is available to you every single morning. One of the biggest sources of stress in our lives doesn't come from what people do to us. It comes from what we let ourselves agree to. So often we're overwhelmed. Not because we have too little time, but because we've said yes to too many things that don't align with our purpose or bring peace to our soul. We say yes because we don't want to disappoint anyone. We say yes because we feel guilty if we don't. We say yes because we've convinced ourselves that our worth is tied to how much we can handle. But friend, I want to remind you today, you have the God-given right to say no. And not just say it, but say it with confidence, with grace, and without guilt. Some of us are carrying weights we were never meant to carry, responsibilities we never should have accepted, roles we were never called to fill, people we were never assigned to fix. And that's not being noble. That's not being godly. That's being drained. That's being distracted. That's the enemy using busyness to keep you from fruitfulness. You see, not every opportunity is a calling. Not every request is an assignment from God. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. When you say yes to everything, you end up running on fumes, stretched thin, and wondering why you don't have peace. But when you begin to say no to what drains you, you make room for what feeds you. Think about Jesus. He loved people. He healed crowds. He taught multitudes. But even Jesus said no. Sometimes there were times he walked away from the crowd. Times he said, "It's not my time." Times he refused to be rushed or manipulated by the needs of others. He understood his purpose. And because he was secure in that purpose, he didn't feel the need to prove himself by pleasing everyone. Some of you need to hear this. You are not a bad person for saying no. You are not selfish. You are not unkind. In fact, sometimes saying no is the most loving thing you can do. When you protect your peace, you protect your ability to pour into others in a healthy way. When you set boundaries, you don't shut people out. You simply say, "I love you, but I can't give what I don't have." And let me tell you, the guilt that comes with saying no, that's temporary. But the burnout that comes from always saying yes, that lingers. It shows up in your health, your relationships, your attitudes. You start snapping at your kids, ignoring your spouse, dreading your commitments. Not because you're a bad person, but because you're empty. God didn't create you to live on the edge of burnout. He didn't design you to be the solution to everyone's problems. He created you with limits. And those limits are not signs of weakness. They are signs of wisdom. So today, give yourself permission to say no to what no longer serves your peace, your growth, your calling. No to the things that feel heavy but aren't holy. No to the invitations that pull you away from your priorities. No to the habits that rob your time and steal your joy. And as you start saying no to the unnecessary, watch how space begins to open up for what really matters. Space for rest. Space for purpose. Space for peace. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you can finally start being faithful to the person God created you to be. Saying no is not rejection. It's redirection. It's a holy act of self-stewardship. And I believe if you'll start embracing the power of no, you'll begin to experience the peace of yes. The yes to God's best. The yes to your calling. The yes to a life of clarity, joy, and freedom from stress. Stress doesn't always begin with what's happening around you. More often than not, it begins with what's happening within you, specifically in your thoughts. The mind is a powerful place. It's where battles are won or lost before you ever take a step into your day. And here's the truth. What you choose to dwell on, you eventually begin to believe. What you believe becomes how you feel. How you feel shapes how you respond to life. So if you want to manage stress, you must start with what you allow your mind to feed on. You cannot live a peaceful life with a chaotic thought life. You cannot walk in strength if all you ever rehearse is weakness. If the first thought that comes to your mind every morning is, "I'm already behind. I can't handle this. It's too much. Nothing ever works out for me." Don't be surprised when you start your day under pressure instead of under peace. Because your thoughts are not harmless. They are seeds. And whatever you plant will eventually take root and grow. The Bible says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." That means your thoughts shape your identity. You can't think like a victim and live like a victor. You can't focus on everything that's going wrong and expect to feel peace. That's why managing stress isn't just about managing your schedule. It's about managing your mental atmosphere. And friend, the good news is, you can control your thoughts. You may not be able to stop a stressful thought from popping into your head, but you can decide whether or not it gets to stay. You have the power to reject the lie and replace it with truth. You can say, "No, I'm not going to meditate on this worry today. I'm going to meditate on God's promises." You can take that thought captive and make it obedient to peace. Let me ask you, what are you thinking about all day? Because if you're constantly thinking about what might go wrong, who might let you down, how hard it's going to be, how tired you are, how much you're lacking, you're feeding your stress. But when you begin to shift your focus, even when life is hard, something begins to change inside of you. That's why I encourage you, don't just wake up and let your mind wander. Direct it. Lead it. Preach to yourself if you have to. When that stress starts whispering, "You're not enough," you declare, "I am more than enough through Christ." When it says you can't handle this, you say, "I can do all things through Him who strengthens me." When it tells you it's too much, you remind yourself, "God is my refuge and my strength, an ever-present help in trouble." You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are not helpless in the face of worry. You have the authority to choose what you feed your mind, and whatever you feed will grow. So feed it faith, not fear. Feed it hope, not anxiety. Feed it truth, not lies. When stress says you're surrounded, faith says, "No, I'm covered." When anxiety says, "What if it all falls apart?" peace says, "Even if it does, I won't." It might take time. It might take practice. But the more you train your mind to dwell on peace, the more peace you'll begin to feel. And the beauty is, no one can take that from you. People can try to frustrate you. Circumstances can try to shake you. But if your mind is anchored, your heart will be steady. Because peace isn't found in the absence of problems. It's found in the presence of truth. So today, choose your thoughts like you choose your clothes, intentionally. Don't just throw anything on. Don't just accept any thought that knocks on the door of your mind. Ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this feeding my faith or fueling my stress? And if it doesn't align with the peace God promises you, you have every right to let it go. You don't have to carry every thought that crosses your mind. You don't have to entertain every worry that knocks. You get to decide who gets to stay in your mental space. That's how you manage stress. Not by controlling everything around you, but by mastering what's happening within you. Because when your mind is right, your life starts to follow. Peace is possible, but it starts in your thoughts. Stress doesn't just live in your mind, it settles in your body. It's not just a mental weight, it's a physical one too. That tension in your shoulders, that tightness in your chest, that constant fatigue, the headaches, the racing heart, that's not just you being tired or getting older. That's your body crying out under the weight of stress. And here's the truth. If you don't release it, your body will store it. But the good news is, you don't have to live that way. God has given us practical, powerful tools, simple, sacred rhythms to help our bodies process what our hearts are carrying. One of the most overlooked ways to manage stress is learning to care for your physical body with intention. And it's not about having a perfect diet or running 10 miles every morning. It's about honoring the temple God gave you. Your body is not the enemy, it's the vessel through which your purpose flows. If your body is weary, it's hard to carry peace. If your body is running on empty, your spirit will feel it. Let's talk about something simple but powerful: breathing. Deep, intentional breathing is more than just a wellness trend. It's a divine reset button. When you slow your breath, you slow your nervous system. You give your body permission to come out of fight or flight and return to rest and restore. When was the last time you just stopped and took a deep breath? Not a sigh of frustration, not a gasp of anxiety. A deep, slow, mindful breath. Inhale peace, exhale tension. It's not just physical, it's spiritual. It's reminding your body that it's safe, that you're present, that God is near. In movement, not for punishment, not to impress anyone, but to release what's been sitting in your system. You were never meant to carry stress while sitting still for hours on end, hunched over a screen, clenching your jaw, grinding your teeth. Your body was designed to move. Whether it's a walk around the block, stretching on your living room floor, dancing in your kitchen, or hitting the gym, movement shifts energy. It clears the mental fog. It resets your focus. It grounds you in the present moment. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a walk and let God meet you on the road. And let's talk about rest. Real rest. Not scrolling through your phone at midnight. Not laying in bed while your mind runs in circles. I'm talking about deep, restorative rest. Sleep is not laziness. It's obedience. God Himself modeled rest on the seventh day. Jesus slept during a storm. Why? Because He trusted the Father. And when you rest, you're making a bold declaration. I trust you, God, more than I trust my effort. I trust that you're working, even while I sleep. Rest is worship. It's surrender. It's saying I don't have to carry it all 24/7. So often we want to fix stress with willpower. But stress is not a moral failing. It's a signal. It's your body waving a little flag saying something needs attention. Don't ignore that signal. Don't medicate it with constant busyness. Don't drown it in caffeine and call it strength. Stop, breathe, move, rest. These are holy rhythms, not just healthy habits. And hear me, you don't have to earn rest. You don't have to feel guilty for taking care of yourself. That's not selfish. That's stewardship. You are valuable to God, not just for what you can produce, but for who you are. You are not a machine. You are not a robot. You are a soul in a body. And that body deserves kindness, not constant strain. If you want to serve well, love well, live well, you've got to care for the vessel that carries your spirit. So maybe today the most spiritual thing you can do isn't to do more. Maybe it's to do less. Maybe it's to close your laptop, take a walk, take a nap, breathe deep, stretch long, laugh loudly, and remember that peace isn't just an idea. It's something you can feel in your very bones. God didn't call you to burnout. He called you to abundant life. And part of that abundance is found when you learn to honor your body with movement, with breath, and with rest. Because when your body is at peace, your spirit has space to thrive. One of the most exhausting things you can ever do in life is try to be all things to all people. It will drain you faster than any job, any task, any deadline. Stress isn't just about how busy you are. It's about how burdened you feel, trying to keep everyone around you happy. Somewhere along the line, many of us picked up the lie that in order to be loved, to be accepted, or even to be valuable, we have to meet everyone's expectations. We have to say yes when we want to say no. We have to be agreeable, even when we're breaking. We have to keep showing up for everyone, even if we haven't shown up for ourselves in weeks. And that pressure, that constant gnawing obligation to please everyone, that is a major source of stress. Let me speak directly to your heart. You are not called to be the answer to every person's problem. You are not called to carry the weight of everyone's approval. And you are not responsible for how people feel about your boundaries. The truth is, trying to please everyone is a losing game. Because no matter how much you give, no matter how well you perform, there will always be someone who wants more, who expects more, who thinks you should do it differently. And the more you contort yourself to make them happy, the more your own peace begins to slip through your fingers. That doesn't mean you stop being kind. It doesn't mean you stop serving or caring or showing up for people. But there's a huge difference between serving from a place of love and overextending from a place of fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being left out, fear of being seen as difficult or selfish. But here's what I've learned. When you live to please people, you will always live stressed. But when you live to honor God and walk in your purpose, you'll find a peace that pleases your soul, even if it doesn't please everybody around you. Think of Jesus. He loved perfectly. He healed generously. He forgave unconditionally. But even he didn't please everyone. People criticized him, misunderstood him, walked away from him. And he didn't chase after them trying to change their minds. He stayed rooted in his mission. He knew who he was. He wasn't harsh, but he wasn't moved by every opinion either. He was led by the Father, not manipulated by the crowd. That's the model we need. That's where peace lives. Some of the stress you're carrying right now might not be from your job or your situation. It might be from constantly wondering, what will they think of me? You replay conversations. You overanalyze your tone. You beat yourself up for saying no, or for needing space. But let me tell you something freeing. You are not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. You are not required to burn yourself out so someone else can stay comfortable. Healthy relationships will honor your limits. The right people won't punish you for taking care of your soul. And the people who truly matter won't need you to destroy yourself in order to feel love. Sometimes the stress we carry is God's invitation to reevaluate the roles we've taken on. Are we doing it out of love or out of fear? Are we carrying something God never asked us to carry? Because the moment you step out of your God-given assignment and into people-pleasing, you step into unnecessary pressure. You were created to walk in grace, not to live in guilt. You were designed to carry peace, not to carry people's expectations. The truth is, when you try to please everyone, you often end up pleasing no one, not even yourself. And the more you try to be everything to everyone, the more you lose yourself in the process. So today, let this be your reminder. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be available 24/7. You don't have to meet every need, or answer every call, or agree with every request. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to say, that's not mine to carry. That's not being selfish. That's being wise. Peace comes when you stop striving to meet every expectation and start aligning yourself with your true calling. And when you do that, when you let go of the weight of pleasing everyone, you'll find something far greater than approval. You'll find freedom. You'll find rest. You'll find the kind of peace that doesn't come from applause, but from alignment with who you really are and who God created you to be. Sometimes the greatest stress in our lives doesn't come from what we don't have. It comes from trying to control what we can't control. We exhaust ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually trying to predict, manipulate, or fix situations that were never ours to manage in the first place. We want everything to go according to plan. We want people to behave a certain way, the outcomes to line up with our expectations, and life to follow a script that we wrote in our heads. But the truth is, life doesn't always stick to our schedule. People don't always do what we hoped. Circumstances don't always bend to our will. And when they don't, we stress, we worry, we panic. We try to grab the steering wheel of life and force it back onto our version of the path. But friend, let me ask you something. What if peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you? What if peace comes from surrendering what you were never meant to carry in the first place? There is a powerful kind of peace that only comes when you lay it down, when you say, God, I don't understand it, but I trust you with it. I don't like how it looks right now, but I believe you are still working in it. I release this relationship, this situation, this uncertainty, not because I'm giving up, but because I'm giving it to you. We've been conditioned to think that surrender means weakness. But surrender is not about giving up. It's about giving over. Giving it over to the one who sees the whole picture when we only see a piece. It's about trusting that even when you don't see the way forward, God is already in your tomorrow. He's already preparing answers to prayers you haven't even whispered yet. He's already making a way through the stress, the confusion, the uncertainty. Holding on to control might feel like security, but it actually creates anxiety. Because deep down, you and I both know we're not in control. We can't control how people treat us. We can't control the timing of breakthroughs. We can't control every outcome, no matter how hard we try. And that constant internal tension That gripping white-knuckle energy of trying to hold it all together is what wears us down. That's what turns a temporary challenge into chronic stress. But when you surrender, when you truly let go, there's a release, a holy release. Suddenly, you're not carrying the pressure of forcing everything to happen your way. You're no longer fighting battles that don't belong to you. You're resting in the knowledge that there is a God who sees the end from the beginning, and He's not pacing the floor, anxious or unsure. He's seated, He's sovereign, He's steady. And when you put your trust in Him, you can be steady too. Now let's be honest, surrender isn't always easy, especially when what you're facing feels urgent or painful or deeply personal. It's hard to let go when the stakes feel high, but that's exactly where faith comes in. Faith is not just believing God can do it, it's trusting Him even if He doesn't do it your way. It's saying, God, I'm not going to stress myself trying to control this. I'm going to trust that You've already gone ahead of me. You don't need to have all the answers to have peace. You don't need to see the whole picture to take the next step. You don't need to fix everything to be free from stress. You just need to trust that God is in control. And that trust doesn't come from a place of passivity, it comes from a place of power. Because surrender is powerful. It takes strength to say, I don't have to hold this anymore. It takes courage to say, I'll do my part, and I'll trust God with the rest. So today, maybe the key to managing your stress isn't in doing more, but in releasing more. Let go of what you can't change. Let go of who won't change. Let go of the outcomes that are out of your hands. Release the pressure to have it all figured out. Lay it down, not in defeat, but in trust. Because the moment you do, you make room for God to move. You make space for peace to enter. You open the door for strength that doesn't come from striving, but from surrender. The tighter you hold, the more stressed you'll feel. But the more you release, the more peace you'll begin to carry. So breathe. You're not failing. You're not falling behind. You're learning the sacred rhythm of surrender. And in that place of surrender, there is rest. There is freedom. And there is a deep, unshakable peace that no stress can take away. You quote, walk through the weight of stress. You felt it in your mind, in your body, in your relationships, in your soul. You've tried to push through it, hide it, numb it, silence it. But today, you're not just surviving it, you're conquering it. Because you are no longer going to carry what you were never meant to carry. You're not going to let stress dictate your mood, your choices, or your future. You are stepping into something stronger. You are stepping into peace, into purpose, into power. Life will never be completely free of challenges. But hear me, you were never meant to live under the weight of every worry. You were never designed to be crushed by every expectation. And stress, no matter how loud it screams, does not get to control your story. You are not powerless in the face of pressure. You are not defeated just because you feel overwhelmed. You are not weak for needing rest, for setting boundaries, for choosing to breathe instead of break. There is a lion inside of you. There is strength inside of you that stress didn't give you. And stress can't take it away. You have survived 100% of your hardest days. You are still here, and that means you're stronger than you think. You've been walking through storms that would have drowned others, and yet here you are, standing, breathing, fighting forward. That's not weakness, that's resilience, that's grace, that's divine strength. So stop waiting for the perfect moment to feel peace. Choose it now. Not because everything is calm, but because you've decided not to let the chaos in. You don't have to control the wind to adjust your sail. You don't have to fix the storm to find your anchor. The waves may roar, but peace is not in the absence of storms. It's in the presence of God within you. And if God is with you, who can be against you? Les Brown once said, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. And today you're starting. You're starting to speak differently to yourself, to think differently about your worth, to move differently through stress. You are replacing pressure with purpose. You are exchanging panic for peace. You are letting go of what you can't control and grabbing hold of what you can. Your response, your thoughts, your breath, your belief. Tony Robbins reminds us, it's not the events of our lives that shape us, but our beliefs about what those events mean. That stress you've been feeling, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've been strong for a long time. But now you're learning a new strength, the kind that knows when to rest, when to release, when to rise. You are not a victim of your stress. You are the author of your peace. The pen is back in your hand. And from this moment on, I dare you to write a new story. Not one where stress gets the final word, but one where you do. One where you take back your time, your thoughts, your health, your voice. One where you refuse to shrink under pressure and instead rise under purpose. And as Muhammad Ali once declared, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. You may be in a season of stretching, but don't quit. Don't give up. Don't settle for a life dictated by anxiety when you've been called to a life directed by peace. You are being shaped, refined, and strengthened, not by what's easy, but by what you're overcoming. The next time stress tries to knock, let peace answer. Let faith stand at the door. And remember, greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. You're not walking alone. You're not standing in your own strength. And your best days, your most peaceful, powerful, purposeful days, they are still ahead. So go out and live like it. Speak like it. Breathe like it. Not stressed, but free. Not fearful, but focused. Not under pressure, but under grace. Because you are not just managing stress, you are mastering it. And you are made for this.